Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the fishing community of Arizona, of all types. So, I wanted to take a moment to talk about custom rods versus off the shelf and semi-custom rods. So, they say what defines a semi-custom rod is that it's a rod company that has more higher end components on their rods, so they consider them semi-custom. Off the shelf is just mass produced, standard models for every person that wants to spend within a certain budget and no more than that. And then hand-built custom rods that a single individual will make on a singular basis. Now, I have chosen to go with Ron Weber of Southwest Custom Rods here in Arizona because I saw a lot of recommendations. So a few years ago, I ended up getting my first custom drop shot rod done by Ron, and it was phenomenal. Then I got a ultralight, and it was phenomenal. The tip broke on it due to a rogue tilapia. I had to repair it. I gave it to somebody else. Then I got another rod, another ultralight, super ultralight made, and I still have that rod, and I love the shit out of that rod. And it just lends itself very well to anything panfish oriented. And most recently, a couple years ago, got a dedicated Ned and drop shot finesse rod that it's absolutely amazing. Now, most of the blanks that he used in my rods, with the exception of my first one, were Bushido brand, which is made in China, and they're actually pretty good blanks. The first one I can't mention because they ended up stopping selling their blanks to rod builders. And the last one, the one I have now currently as my finesse rod, is a North Fork Composites, which is actually owned by G Loomis now. And it's phenomenal. If I was going to get a handmade bait cast rod, I would probably ask for the same series from North Fork, but in a medium heavy. But I'm specialized enough as it is that I'm just going to get an off-the-shelf semi-custom to do the duties that I would do with the baitcaster. The baitcaster's already out for delivery today, so just going to pick up a good standard medium heavy and light enough and tough enough to work for me. My consensus right now is that I'll probably end up getting the 13 Fishing Meta that Gerald Swindle helped 13 Fishing design, because he's one of the only anglers that's actually gone for a length of time and gone hand in hand with the designer at 13 Fishing to come up with and torture tested many iterations before coming up with these series of rods. So the crankbait rod in medium heavy from the Meta series is what I would choose, because it's a reaction bait rod, so it's got some more parabolic to it, which I like when I'm throwing motion baits, being flukes and spinner baits, crankbaits, certain types of jigs, things of that nature. So I'm gonna get one in that vein, and that may be the rod that I get. There's plenty of rods out there. There's some that are Tackle Warehouse and Tackle Director having on heavy discount right now, so I may just fork out the money for one of those and sit on this reel for a couple of weeks. But yeah, the difference between a off-the-shelf, a semi-custom, and a full custom hand-built rod is exponential. And when you get to a point in your fishing, no matter how serious you are about it, you should be compelled to at least get a semi-custom. I was compelled to start getting handmade because the cost relative to the semi-custom sitting on the shelf is about even. Now, that's different now because of inflation. The same rod that I got for $400 made for finesse now would be about $600-700. But if you think about that, if you get a rod made just for you, and it's in the same range as, say, NRX, St. Croix, the higher end, the Megabass higher ends, I'd rather have one made, honestly, because if I'm spending that kind of money, I want to know that I'm getting exactly what I want. With this finesse rod, it is spaced exactly how I want it, no more, no less. It is as minimalistic as possible, but high-grade components, and it is supremely light. It's about 14.7 ounces with the reel and the rod together. I can hold it all day long. Now, do G Loomis have lighter rods? There are some that are as light, if not lighter, but I have a rod that feels completely like I want it to feel. And honestly, when you get to a certain point in how you fish, it's a lot of subjective opinion at a certain point. A lot of your success in the water is consistency in how you do it. It has nothing to do with the equipment. But once you get to a certain point, improving the equipment for your relative experience is something that you should want to do, because it makes the experience more enjoyable. It makes it less fatiguing. It makes it easier to do the things that you know to do. Sensitivity on a handmade rod or a semi-custom off the rack is head and shoulders exponential above just a standard off-the-shelf mass-produced rod. There's just some brands that I cannot buy now because I've tasted Thor's hammer in a rod, and I just can't do standard in that type of rod anymore. And like my friend Chris, I gave him my Tatula rod with the Fuego reel, and it's a perfectly good rig, but he was looking to get an upgraded rod and reel, and I had it to spare, so I gave it to him. And the other ones that I've had that I don't have anymore, I just have my custom finesse and my custom ultralight. My other medium heavy I got from my friend David is a Zodius Shimano medium heavy with a Kage 2500. So, still really good off the shelf, off the rack combo. And I feel that I can do pretty much anything with a medium heavy baitcaster that I can do with anything I carry already. I've had them before. I am ridiculously good at casting a baitcaster. I've had them since I was like 7 years old. And I learned on the no magnetic brake Abu Garcias, by the way. So it was very much trial by fire. But it is a much different experience when you have upgraded equipment, and it almost forces you to change your way and philosophy in fishing life when you get to a point where you have equipment that is just in its stature, because of how much more sensitive and much more input oriented that equipment is. Now, I will say this, I've used it sometimes, but for drop shot I will not use tungsten. It is prohibitively expensive. I can go through my friends that pour lead here locally, mainly Matthew Picklesimmer, and get 50 to 100 drop shot weights for the same price as 20 of a tungsten. And Arizona Tungsten, no offense to you guys, I know you do pretty good pricing. Just to me, it's a loss that I'm gonna take and use somewhere else. So I just figured I'd kind of give my opinion on that with the rods. The reels, it's a little bit different. I go with Daiwa mostly for spinning, because of the fact that I have a history with that brand. I've used multiple brands, but I just really love the drag on all Daiwa reels. They're just really supremely good. I like them better than Shimano's. When it comes to baitcasters, my preference is for Shimano. I had a Lexa 400. It was a great swim bait reel, but there were issues with it. I have had zero issues with Shimano baitcasters. However, the one that I have in the mail is actually a ducket fishing. And I know a bigger brand makes them for them. but they're very well rated, and I'm going to give it a chance for this medium heavy. Do everything rig. I plan on hitting the Thule's and Saguaro a lot this year, and throwing a lot of flukes and everything else. So I'm not going to just be about finesse once it heats up. I'm going to be about some of the heavier tactics as well. And that's pretty much all I got to say for now.